What's going on, everyone? This is Dom, and today we're talking about the Corsair One i140. That beast sitting on the desk right behind me, and we're obviously in the second generation of this PC from Corsair, and they've made quite a bit of changes that make a big difference to me. Obviously, the design here is the same for the most part. I mean, it's a hardcore aluminum case. It just feels really nice overall. But we do have full-on RGB on the front panel, which is super cool, so you can kind of customize it to look however you'd like. So the body here has remained mostly the same from the previous generation, and we do also have Corsair's convection-assisted liquid cooling, which is basically a custom AIO for the CPU and the GPU. Because of this, I mean, we get some pretty nice thermal temps. Now, there's just one fan at the top of this thing that's actually, exhausting all of the hot air, and then air seeps in through the side panels where the little cutouts are to keep the whole thing cool. It's actually a pretty genius design. As far as performance goes, I was actually pretty happy with this. Now, I decided to test this out of the box just exactly as it shipped. I didn't do any overclocks or anything like that. I just wanted to see, if I bought the computer, what it would do performance-wise without touching it at all. So to touch on specs before we dive into performance here, inside of this piece we have the Intel Core i7-9700K processor. We also have 32 gigabytes of RAM clocked at 2666 megahertz, and we have an NVIDIA RTX 2080. For storage, we have a 480 gigabyte NVMe M.2 SSD, and we have a 2 terabyte hard drive. Now let me remind you that inside of here is a full-sized desktop 2080, so there's no skimping or cutting corners here, and as I mentioned, the CPU is clocked at 3.6 gigahertz out of the box. And before I forget to mention, all of this is powered by a 600 watt gold certified PSU, and it's pretty tiny. Now, as far as the I/O goes on the back side of this guy, it's actually pretty good. I mean, I don't have any complaints here. Obviously, with mini ITX board, you're going to run into limitations of space, but they put plenty there, including 3 display ports. And on the front side, we do have some additional I/O as well, which is nice. Of course, with the hardware inside of here, we can expect to see very similar performance numbers to anything comparable out there. But in case you were curious, jumping into Geekbench, we had a single core score of 5,932 and a multi-core score of 28,890. Now in Cinebench, we got a score of 1,423, and moving along to Time Spy Extreme, we came in at 4,790. So I ran some stress tests in Ada 64, and well, under load, I mean, I didn't see anything above like 76 degrees Fahrenheit, and our idle temps were right around 45. So for the Heaven benchmark, running at a 1440p resolution with the settings on high, I was getting around 100 frames per second, which is pretty good. And the same can be said for Shadow of the Tomb Raider at high settings as well. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare kicked things up a little bit with a frame rate of around 120 frames per second, settings on high. And also, on top of that, you could definitely use this thing for some 4K video editing. So one thing that I really do like about this whole thing is that even though it's a pre-built system and it's tiny, as you can see, you can still jump in there and swap out things like the RAM, the hard drive, or the SSD. It's not that hard to take apart. It may seem a little intimidating, but it's actually pretty simple, even though everything is like jam-packed inside of it. Obviously, this is a pre-built, right? And it's gonna set you back around $3,000 if you wanna pick up this model specifically, the i140. And that's a lot of money. Can't really argue with that. It is a lot of money, but man, it looks really nice on a desk. I mean, the aesthetics here are definitely a big part of this whole thing because, well, I mean, Corsair, their stuff is kind of all about aesthetics, at least in my opinion. But I don't know, can you justify the price? I mean, to do something like this yourself, this compact and this just well put together, it's gonna take some time and effort. That being said, it's not impossible to do it for less, but you are also getting a 2-year warranty with this and lifetime customer support with the whole thing. So, I mean, really there are some cons to that, but I think it kind of balances out, at least in my opinion. Obviously, Corsair has other models of this. This is actually their base model coming in at $3,000, so it's kind of expensive. They do have a very high-end creator model, but I think you can do most of your creating on this one or the i160. I think that's where the sweet spot is, right in the middle, but it's gonna cost you more. But I wanna know your thoughts about the Corsair i140 or any of the models in this lineup in the comments section below, and be sure to leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and also subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're the first to be notified when new videos like this drop. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This is Dom, and I'll catch you in the next video.